Okay, Ron, my man. What's up, brother? How you feeling, man? You good?
Yeah, I'm good, bro.
Man, I'm here, man, in Indianapolis with my man, Ron Robinson, my hometown hero, my boy from Nashville, Tennessee. Thank you so much for having me here, man.
Long time, brother.
A long time, Ron. I'm here in your place, in Indianapolis, Indiana, at LCP Transportation.
Yes, sir.
Man, boy, you doing it. You doing it.
Well, can't go without a whole lot of other blessings and a lot of people's help, but we here.
Yeah. Man, I tell you, so I've been on Ron from home, from Nashville, Tennessee. He and my brother played sports together, played baseball together. Yeah. And then Ron also the former NFL player. So a lot of people don't know that about Ron. See, he's a former NFL player. He got the athletic skills and he got the business skills. So people don't know that, hey, that's Ron Robinson from Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville, Tennessee. That's where it all started.
And look at you there in Indianapolis, Indiana, doing your thing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Man,
it's been a blessing.
Awesome.
It's been a long journey. Coming from Stratford High School.
Wow. That's right. You was at Stratford.
Yeah, I went to Stratford over on the east side of Nashville, and ended up going to University of Kentucky.
Yep.
Kind of back to where my roots started. I was born in Lexington.
Yep.
So I ended up going back there. Played college football there, had a great time, met a lot of friends.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Long friendships and stuff it created. And, learned a lot about business, learned a lot about myself.
Yeah.
Learned a lot about life, and, catapulted me into life, man.
Yeah.
So everything has been going quite well. Hadn't been without a lot of bumps, a lot of trials and tribulations.
Oh, yeah,
but,
yeah.
Hey, we find ourselves
That's
here.
why we're here, too, Ron. That's exactly why we're here, because one thing I know about Ron Robinson, he going to tell the truth. He going to tell you how to get to the next level, because you've been through all those things. As a small business yourself, getting your first contract, for LCP Transportation. Kind of elaborate a little bit about that, too. Your first contract, how did that work for you?
Well, I work for a company called EDS, Electronic Data Systems, out of Dallas, they're out of Plano, Texas, actually. Ross Perot.
Yeah, Ross Perot.
He used to own that.
Said you people.
Yeah. He went back and forth, owned it, sold it, bought it back, then sold it again.
Right.
But it's an information technology company.
Oh, yeah.
Process Medicaid claims all over the state of Indiana, all over the state, and then all in other states, and also they process Medicare claims as well. Mm-hmm. But did that. Got in there and started in the technology area as a business analyst and went through that process. And they came up right when I started. They implemented a new system.
Okay.
So they went from a mainframe to a GUI-based system.
Right.
Which means basically like a new PC, the PC.
Right.
And so I remember when we first got there, we had a whole room dedicated to basically storage.
Okay.
Which is all the information that's being stored there, mainframe.
Right.
Now it's in the cloud.
Okay.
So a lot of things have changed. But we designed a whole new Indiana AIM system, which is a system that they use to process Medicaid claims with.
Right.
In the state of Indiana, and so I did that, learned the system, and over the years got a chance to move around.
Okay.
Within the company. And learned a lot of the different pieces of Medicaid. When I first started, I know the difference between Medicaid and Medicare.
I know, and a lot of our public don't understand Medicare, right?
Yeah, but became an expert in Medicaid, and one day an opportunity came about to start a transportation company to basically support the Medicaid for Indiana.
Okay.
So I did that a little reluctantly, actually. Because I didn't really see that as my future. Transportation, I knew nothing about transportation. I just knew Medicaid. So was really kind of talked into it.
Okay.
But once I got into it, started working in it and just did what I always know how to do, which is stick my head down, get to grinding, learning the business, because it wasn't nothing like what I was told that it would be.
Right.
So if it was, go south, I should have went north.
Okay.
If it was say, go east, I should have went west. I mean, it was totally different than what I was told and what I expected.
Right.
It was hard.
But it
was tough.
That's the same case for Ron, like for all small businesses, pretty much, right?
Yeah.
you don't know whether to go north or south, east or west, and you're trying to figure it out, right? So
Right.
a lot of things that we're doing today is trying to show a lot of businesses how to get to the next level, right?
Right.
I mean, because like I said, you got your first contract, right, in transportation, and you didn't even have transportation vehicles.
Right. Yeah, I signed the first contract that right out of the job, and I didn't even have a van yet. I
Wow.
traded in my vehicle to get my first vehicle,
Wow,
my first
wow.
van. My second van, I remember the story. I bought the van, $2,500
$2,500 for a van?
for a van,
Really?
and before I could get a mile away from where I bought it
It
from,
broke down.
the transmission fell out. Transmission fell out. I didn't have any other money. I gave him my last $2,500.
Oh wow.
And so thank God he took it back. He was a mechanic too, so he actually
Okay.
fixed it.
Yeah. Right.
So thank God for that.
Right.
It's all about being in the right place at the right time,
Right.
and
Yeah, man, for sure.
God ain't gonna never forsake you, and He ain't gonna never leave you. So
Yeah.
you know that if it's meant to be, it's meant to be. And so I remember that day, and I'll never forget it.
Right.
Took it back to him. He fixed it. I took it up to Fort Wayne, and that's where kind of where I started putting vans at. As first is up in the Fort Wayne area. My first employee was a Medicaid member.
Wow.
I try to be creative and innovative in the way I approach stuff.
Right.
And I was transporting a young man, and he seemed to be eager to want to work, but he just couldn't find a job. And I said, hey, I got an opportunity, and he said, I'll take it. And so my first employee was actually one of the clients that I was transporting.
Wow.
So I actually helped to take him off of the Medicaid program. He actually got a job. And started working.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah.
Because I mean, and I'm gonna fast forward a little bit because you started there, and now today is 2022. I mean, where are you at today? Like from all the way back then. That's been what, 19? How many years?
23 years
23
to be
years.
exact. Yeah,
Wow,
we started in
23 years
1999, January 1999, and now in 2022, man, it's we got well over 100 employees.
Yeah.
We've been
That's awesome.
contracting with some of the largest HMOs in the country, and it's just been a blessing. It's
Now for the public who don't understand that acronym, tell them what HMO is, because you know what, we're all about education now.
We actually
right?
call them managed care organizations, MCOs, or in our case, exactly what they're called is a managed care entity, MCE.
Okay, gotcha.
So those are large entities that basically act as the insurance company for the membership population.
Okay.
And so in our case, we have 5 in the state. And so they basically divide out the Medicaid population.
Okay.
And then in our case, we work as the transportation provider for those members. And right now we have 3 of the 5, and we shortly will have the 4th. So we'll have 4 of the 5 contracts.
That's awesome. So relationships are key. Relationships are key in every business.
Definitely. I mean, that's kind of how I got started. You know? I was just minding my business with my head down, working hard every day, and a gentleman came up to me that worked at EDS also and talked me into starting this business because he had seen me, really kind of change some things within the walls of that company and make some significant changes that were real good for the company. So he felt like that I would be an asset.
So would you say, though, Ron, like the most important thing sometimes in a small business is understand how to network?
Definitely. I know that's tough because, when you're trying to grow a business, you feel like that you got to spend a lot of time in wearing a lot of different hats.
A lot of different hats.
I mean, you got a lot of different hats. You got to try to keep up with the operations. You got to understand the books. You got to understand how to, sell. You got to understand how to collect your money, chase your money down.
We're going to get to that chasing the money down piece too.
So you got a lot of things that you got to try to do. So in my case, what I try to do is alleviate as many of the things that seem to derail most companies.
Okay.
So in other words, when I first started, I tried to make the employment part really, really simple. So I just paid them a flat rate, and that eliminated me having to deal with so many employee issues like,
Gotcha.
I didn't get paid that extra 15 minutes or 20 minutes or trying to keep up with time cards and all that. Just pay them a flat amount for the day.
Okay.
So which eliminated that, as far as like gas and, maintenance and stuff like that. I explained to my first employees just how important they were to the overall success of the business.
Right.
And what I mean by that is, a lot of small businesses don't want to tell their employees what's going on for fear they're going to take that information and run with it and go
try
start
to do
their
their
own.
Yep.
Well, you can't control what people are going to do.
Right.
If they do it, they do it. If they don't, they don't. And I've always been a competitor, you know me.
Yeah.
I mean, at some point, if you want to grow, you got to tell some people. And you can't grow if you're just trying to do it yourself.
Right.
So you got to take some chances, and you got to put yourself out there. So what I did is I made a decision early on to really teach my employees about the business, give them my vision.
Right.
So they understand my vision and my mission, and they bought in.
Yeah. And that's very important for your employees to buy in.
Oh, yeah.
To what your vision. Because I think a lot of times, especially as a black-owned business, right, we have challenges, right? We have challenges when it's us.
Right.
And they don't want to buy into the vision. You have to buy into the vision.
You got to. And I said, look, just be honest. If you don't come to work, if you treat this just as an employer type relationship, and you decide one day you just don't want to come to work, which a lot of employees do.
Yes, sir.
Then guess what? People don't get picked up.
Yep.
Guess what? I lose the contract.
Yep.
Guess what? You don't have a job.
Yeah.
So you just as important in this as I am.
Right.
Probably more important.
Right.
Because the bottom line is that, I can't pick all the people up.
Yeah.
And so it's important for you every day to be here on time, show up, ready to go, ready to do everything that you need to do to keep those clients. So therefore now we keep the business.
Yeah.
And so I had to teach them business 101.
Right. And you have to. And you have to continue to do that, right, to be successful. But another thing, Ron, is like when things get tight, Corporation A, no name, whomever, owe you money, right? They owe you money. And let's say $1 million. If you wasn't a company that had, some capital sitting aside and a corporation owe you $1 million or whatever the number is, could you sustain? How's that work?
Well, just like anything else, I build homes too, is ironically. So this example is very prevalent to building homes. When you build a house, just like when you build a business, you start with the plans. So you have to have a plan, and you have to understand that there's a foundation that happens first.
Yeah.
So you got to build the foundation, and part of building the foundation is building out horizontal versus linear, which is straight up vertical. So what that means is you got to develop and build a plan A, plan B, and plan C in anticipation of just that, where you may not get paid in a timely fashion. Just because you have on your contract net 15 don't mean you're going to get paid in 15 days in some cases. Because a lot larger companies, they don't always understand how impactful that cash is to a small business. Big businesses, they have tons of cash. They just manage differently than a small business. So to answer your question, you got to put in place a safety net of sorts, where you have to have lines of credit. You got to have maybe a family member or something that may have some resources to be able to back you up for a short period of time. Just a bridge of sorts to be able to make it over those bridges until you get paid. Big, when you have contracts with big well-known companies, they gonna pay you.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of when.
Right.
And you may die before they pay you.
Right.
In a lot of cases, because cash is so important in a small business. So when you first start out, just like with your budget at home, when you start out, you have to build a budget, and savings is a part of that budget. So when you get into a business environment, you got to do the same things, and you got to have even more because the numbers are bigger.
Yeah.
So you may need $10,000 to make your payroll.
Right.
Well, if you don't have assets, and assets that are easily, liquidated or some sort, then it doesn't do you any good.
Right.
You know, you go buy a car, as soon as you ride off the lot, it's depreciated to the point where it's not even worth what you bought for.
Absolutely.
You buy a house, you know, sometimes, you know, as you grow, you have to increase your house because that's an asset base that you can use to borrow against in the times when you may need it.
And see, the challenges definitely for a lot of small businesses, they don't have that. And they don't really have a relationship with the banks, or they don't have a cousin or a relative who can give them $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. So you have to network, you have to build up certain things. You got to understand it. You got to get your P&Ls, your balance sheet straight, because the bank is not giving you the money neither. Now that things have really changed, you know, with COVID and most companies now need, like, they got to have key person insurance policies just to go in and get debt capital now.
Right.
So, I mean, even as an investor, let's talk about, you know, Ron, you've been an investor.
Right.
The things that you look for, and why would you give a company money? You know, I mean, we want to keep it real, keep it honest.
Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're going to give somebody money, you got to know that you're going to get it back.
right.
I mean, you know, the bank's no different.
Right.
That's the reason why it's hard for a bank to loan a company money that doesn't have the forecasting or the wherewithal to show you how they going to actually give you your money back.
Right.
So they got to make money, meaning they got to generate revenue.
True.
And they got to have their expenses be low enough to where they can not only make profit for themselves to, you know, feed their family and take care of their day-to-day operations, but also to pay them back. So, you know, you have to, first of all, have some documents that show how you plan to generate revenue.
Right.
That are real.
Right.
You know, so when as an investor, you know, I'm going to look at the information that you put in front of me, and it's got to paint a picture.
Right.
And that picture's got to show that, okay, this is going to generate revenue. I can see how this is going to work. Because I always say this, and I'm going to say this on camera.
Yeah.
Everybody thinks their baby is cute.
Right.
Everybody.
Right.
You know, but everybody's baby ain't cute.
Right.
But every mama thinks their baby is the cutest baby in the world.
Right.
So everybody thinks their ideas and their business is going to be great.
Yeah.
Until it isn't.
Yeah.
Right? And the reason why that is the case is because everybody's going to tell you how great it is and what it's going to do and this and that, but they really don't drill down far enough to make sure that you understand the dynamics of business. And business is not not emotional.
Right. You got to take the emotion out of it.
You got to take the emotion out of the business and be able to see it for what it really is. Is it going to be able to attract customers that are going to pay real money for whatever the product or the service is that you have.
Right.
And then as your expenses going to be lower than that revenue you're going to generate. And can you collect the money that you've incurred and that you've earned quick enough and at a speed and timely enough to offset the expenses as quick as they come in? So there's those things are just, you know, 101 for business. Because let's lay everything else aside. If you can't create or generate enough revenue to where you can actually have a viable business, then you don't have a business.
Right.
So, you know, going out and borrowing money, you know, I tell people all the time, you know, it may be a good thing that you don't get money from other resources if you can't pay it back.
So you're in trouble.
Because now you just in a deeper hole.
You're in trouble.
So,
got a lot of
you know,
debt.
when I went to my first couple of, you know, encounters with the bank, they said no.
And you had a good relationship with your bank,
and
too.
I had great relationships.
Yeah.
You know, in some cases I had assets, and you know, those assets may have been in different things than what they thought was an asset. And I had land. I know of some banks, because of some things that have happened, you know, recently in the recent past, banks don't sometimes loan against land anymore because of, you know, issues with real estate. So, you know, you got to understand and know, you know, what it is that you have that people want. And so you got to figure out what that is and then be able to, you know, move accordingly. I feel like business is like a game.
Okay.
The people that win at a game understand the game. You playing basketball, but you don't understand basketball.
Yep.
Then you're not going to win.
Not going to win, for sure.
Right?
He's not
Life
gonna
is
win.
a game. Business is a game also.
Yeah.
And you got to understand how to play the game.
Yeah.
So if you don't understand the rules, and what it takes to win at this game. You know, people play football all day long and they running for 1,000 yards or 300 or 400 yards in a game and still lose.
Yeah.
And you might hit 50 points in a basketball game and still lose.
That's right.
Because that ain't the game.
Yep.
The game is to score more points than your opponent.
That's right. That's right.
Right?
Yep.
So you can get all them individual accolades and still lose.
Yep. And it happens all the time.
It happens all the
All the
time.
time.
So in business, you got to understand what it is you're trying to accomplish.
So I would say, especially for the listening public, right? Small businesses really have to understand how to play the game. They have to really totally understand how to play the game. And this is the reason that we've built a lot of things, and the reason I built a lot of things with Ron himself, you know, with the PN community. We're putting this thing out here so that people can understand how to play the game. Small businesses, you have to be transparent. You got to network. You got to get out, you know, you get out of your comfort zone. You know, and we tease a lot about, you know, us being athletes having a dog in you. You got to have it. It's hard to put it in you, but you got to have it. And so it's like we're trying to educate you on how to do things. If you're going to be in this game, you're going to become an entrepreneur. There are certain things you just going to have to understand how to play the game. And one of those games is just really on the finance side.
Right.
If you got a business, how do you really tell a small business what they need to do to understand how to gain access to capital?
Well, you know, like I said, it's a lot of pieces to the puzzle.
Yep.
When you're trying to get into business, like I said, you wear a lot of hats, and you're trying to do a lot of things, but you got to prioritize what is important at that particular time. Don't try to do number 10 before you do number 1.
Right.
You know, so you got to understand. Okay, I have this idea, because everything starts as an idea, and then it, you know, slowly moves into more reality. But the reality is that what are the things that are most important first, second, third, and fourth? Well, I tell people all the time, if you're going to start a business, you need to have some capital. Whether it's your capital or somebody else's capital, you need some money. And you need way more money than what you think you're going to need.
That's true.
So if you think you're going to need 10,000, you probably need 30.
Yeah.
Because once again, things don't always go like you think they're going to go. Everybody's always planning and putting together a forecast and a plan based on perfect. When's the last time you seen perfect?
Right.
You know, things seem to happen when you don't have it planned out and you don't have a backup.
Right.
You know, your furnace go out when you don't have enough money to replace your furnace. Your tire busts when your spare is not in the trunk.
You're right.
You know, when your cell phone just died.
Right.
Now your car fall. You know, so things happen. You know, when you're not prepared.
Right.
So preparation, you know, is when luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And so the bottom line is that you just got to be prepared.
Right.
And you got to try to think through all the things that possibly might happen that may derail this business.
Yep.
And money is at the epicenter. Because with money, now you can overcome a lot of the things. And so to answer your question, you really need to figure out, okay, what is the type of business or service that I'm doing? Okay, what is the lead time for customers, and when am I going to actually, you know, be able to get in front of and try to close customers, and, you know, how long is it going to take for me to, you know, get the money actually in from the time that I talk to the first customer to the time that I've closed them or what have you. Because if you got a retail establishment, obviously when people come in, they're going to buy the product, they're going to sell it, you're going to sell it to them, you're going to get the money in exchange, and you can move on. A lot of times, you know, you're doing a service, there's a lead time and a time for where you provide the service and then you get paid at a later date.
Yep.
So you got to be able to cover those expenses until it's time that you get the cash in. And once you get the cash in, it's going straight back out because you didn't think about the fact that all these things got to be paid every 2 weeks or every month or whatever the case is. And so you got to think about all that as you're forecasting and putting together a plan.
Absolutely.
And those things are what banks and investors and just you in general. Because if you're going to start a business, you need to put together a plan for how you're going to go into business. You need to sacrifice. You need to be patient. You need to make sure that you thinking this stuff through and saving money and putting it away and sacrificing and beginning to prep like you're running your business before you even get the business, the doors open. Because, delays are going to happen. Unforeseen delays in all different kinds of ways.
Yep.
So you just gotta try your best to think about and think through all of those things, because they all will trip you and help you to fall.
Yep. Another thing, Ron, and when businesses fail, because you said fall, right? And they fail, right? The thing that we always try to teach a lot of small businesses, a lot of entrepreneurs, we don't want you to fail. If you're talking to Ron Robinson, he done enough stuff to show you and tell you how to get to the next step without failing.
Right.
When you fail, it's hard to get back up. If you go in debt and you like 20,000, 30,000, 100,000, whatever that number is in debt, it's hard to get back out. It's hard to get back up. So what do you tell a business that's on the cuffs, but if they don't do it right, they're going to fail? I mean, what kind of guidance will you tell them about failing? That's a tough one.
It is a tough one, because this thing is not a cookie cutter.
Right.
It's dynamic to the business and to the person and to what's going on. It's really hard to give an answer that basically takes care of everybody's situation, because every situation is slightly different. But in most cases, you're failing because you're running into a financial problem to where you can't pay your payroll.
Yep.
You can't pay your vendors.
Yep.
And so something shuts down.
Right.
Like they either stop paying, stop moving your product, or stop picking your people up, or stop doing whatever it is that they're doing for you. And slowly it takes you down, right? So in order to avoid that, you have to, first of all, plan and put process and make sure that you have all the necessary things in place to basically help avoid that. Some things can be avoided by being proactive and having procedures in place, process, and all the things that are proactive in helping you to not get to that point.
Yep.
Because, if you're at the point of failure and you're real close, sometimes it's inevitable. It's hard to. But if you're trying to avoid that and you see yourself going towards that, you got to do something different. A lot of people say, well, what's the definition of insanity? Doing the same thing over and over and over, the same, same way, not changing anything.
Right.
You got to force yourself to do something that's uncomfortable.
Yep.
Have you ever played golf?
Yes, sir.
Well, golf, people that play golf for the first time, when they hold the stick, it's very uncomfortable.
Yep.
It's an uncomfortable grip. You actually hold it like this, and you hold it like this. For a non-golfer, that doesn't feel right.
It doesn't feel comfortable at all.
But once you start playing and you understand why you hold it that way, is so that the angle of the stick is at a certain way, so when it hits the ball, it goes at a certain trajectory. But I say all that to say that it's uncomfortable at first.
Yeah.
So you got to force yourself to make the uncomfortable comfortable. And so that is, something I think that most small businesses should take into effect, because usually a person who starts a business understands and knows how to do the product or the service that they do.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you start a lawn service, you probably know how to cut grass.
That's right.
Right.
You should.
Or if you start a drywall business, you probably know how to hang drywall.
Hang drywall. Right.
But the problem is that, do you understand the business side of it?
Right. And a lot don't.
Right.
Because we all became entrepreneurs. We didn't really want to work in corporate America anymore.
Right.
And even the young millennial kids, they don't want to get up and go work in corporate America now. Everybody wants to be their own boss.
Right.
Technology has evolved. Social media has evolved. They got access to everything. Everything's on your phone. Everything's on a computer.
That's true.
This is a total entrepreneurial society. So we got to do a lot more education.
Yeah, and you got to have a level of discipline that is not normal.
Yeah.
To be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
So you have to be thinking when everybody else is asleep. You got to be thinking about what you're going to be doing, because if you're not, then you're behind.
Yeah.
Because you constantly got to be trying to reinvent yourself and think, because it's competition.
Yeah, competition everywhere you go.
See, in sports, you and I understand that because we've been in sports all our life, and that's all it is, competition.
Yeah.
If you ain't winning, you losing.
I'm trying to be better than anybody on the court.
Yeah, so the only way you're going to do that is to put the time in.
Yeah, got to put the
and
time
a lot of
in.
people ain't willing to put the time in order to get the results that they want. Everybody want the results.
Yeah.
Not a lot of people are willing to put in the time.
They result driven, but you got to put the time in.
You got to put in the time. So with that being said, you know, the whole dynamics around entrepreneurship is that you do have the ability to make your decisions and do the things that you want to do when you want to do them. But at the same time, realistically, you have to be thinking and be planning and be proactive and having the ability and the disciplines that come with success and discipline, sacrifice, patience. All of these things are crucial to success in business.
Yep.
Because you're constantly trying to think about all these things. And really you need to start surrounding yourself with people that are smarter than you. You need to understand yourself. You need to understand what your strengths are, what your weaknesses are. Because the things that are strengths, you need to continue to manifest and grow them. The things that are weaknesses, you need to understand their weaknesses and find somebody that can help you in your weak points. Because they're not going to become strengths.
And that's why we always tell the entrepreneurs or the small businesses that you have to have capital to be able to go find those people that you need to surround yourself with, you know, in your company. If you don't have any capital, which becomes money that you can buy human capital with, right, which is people, you have to get your plan, your processes right. Everything that Ron is echoing here and saying to you, it's all about you. If you got a business, you have to want to grow that business. You want to get out of the house or the apartment or wherever you reside at or wherever you're working at. You got to get out. You got to go build up that pipeline where you can now find the right people. And or if you find the right people, you got to have some capital to buy the right people. If you're not buying people, right, Ron?
Right.
You got to purchase equipment. Because your business may have a business where you got to purchase equipment that you're going to have to find the right operator.
Right.
You got equipment. You got vans. You need drivers. You have all of that, right? People don't understand. That takes a lot.
Yeah, I mean, technology, just technology alone is a huge percentage of my business.
Yes.
Just
Absolutely.
the technology side. I mean, I got people that are constantly, you know, rewriting code, writing code, and changing, you know, procedures. Like if our customers make a change to something, now we got to go back and write that change into our system. Right. With, you know, if I pay for that on a ad hoc basis, which is individually, I'd pay a ton. I had to hire an IT staff basically to run to be able to handle and keep up with all the changes.
And see, all of that goes into effect, right?
Yeah.
You know, that's Ron. This is why you do what you do today. This is why you've blessed, you know, companies like myself and others as an investor. Why we built the PN community so that we can get companies in at a low price point so they can understand how to do all the things we're talking about, right? We also built another platform called Playbook Investors Network, which is more your due diligence platform with the capital, with all the investment arm on the backside. But we tell all small business, medium businesses, or young entrepreneurs, you have to get a plan. You have to get this right. You need to join a PN community or any other community that's going to teach you how to do A, B, C, and D. Because if you don't get those right, you're going to continue to fail.
Yes, you will. You know, I tell people, I try to put things into perspective where people can understand.
Yeah.
Growing a business is like having a child.
Yeah. Well, for the wives or the women.
What I'm saying, like
not the men. We ain't having no kids yet.
Not birthing the child, but what I'm saying is growing the child. You know, rearing a child for 18 years.
Yes, absolutely.
So I got 4 girls.
Yep.
And that is very similar to running a business, because when you first start, child is totally dependent on you.
Yeah, true.
They can't do anything without the parents, right?
Nothing. Yep.
They need somebody to feed them. They need somebody to change their diaper.
Yep.
They need somebody to, you know, hold them. All those things. And as they get older, they get more and more independent, right? To the point where, as you know, if you do it right, around 18 to 20, 21, 22, they're able to do it on their own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, in a business, a lot of times we hold on to it, not knowing and understanding the damage that we're doing because we're entrepreneur, right? We're used
hold on to it
we want to do it all ourselves.
Yes.
So we do everything in the business ourselves.
Yep.
Because can't nobody else do it better than us. Can't nobody possibly do it better than us.
Hey, you speak to them, Ron. They need to hear.
Because we the ones that started this.
You're right.
Don't nobody know how to do this.
You're right.
But me.
Yep.
So you do everything.
Yep.
Similar to like if you say you were to hold on to your baby so tight to where you don't let them do nothing.
That's right.
You do everything for them.
Yep.
To the point where they don't know how to do nothing. And then when it's time for them to leave, they don't know how to do nothing.
Don't know how to do anything.
So the business is the same way.
Right.
If you don't rear the business, start the business, set it up with the end in mind.
Yeah.
Meaning you have to develop a business so that eventually, maybe you don't ever sell it, but you start the business with the end in mind of selling it eventually. Now, maybe you don't ever sell it, but the point is that if you develop it in that way, you've put in procedures, process, and all the documentation, the organizational chart, and all these things, so that at some point your business is looked upon as independent of you.
Yeah.
Just like your baby.
Yep.
Your baby at some point, although you love them to death, they got to go.
Gotta go.
At some point.
Yeah.
If they're going to be of value to society.
Yeah. And you and I have had many talks about the girls and my two boys and my daughter. So
yeah, so when I they're very similar.
Yeah.
In the approach.
Yes.
To be successful. And I've seen a lot of entrepreneurs that start businesses that become just a glorified job.
Yeah.
Because they working their butt off. They working way more than if they were just to work for somebody else.
True.
Get paid, not have to deal with all the taxes and all the chasing the money and all this and that. They'd be better off working for somebody else.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna start a real business, you need to develop it and be and trust it. Mm-hmm. Trust. You gotta trust people. You got to put a process in place and trust that they're going to do what you say. If they don't, then you go find somebody else.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is you got to trust. Mm-hmm. You know, you got to trust that, okay, I'm not the only one that knows how to do this because I've documented exactly how I want them to do it for me.
Right.
Look at some of the successful businesses in the country. You know, Chick-fil-A, is a great example of a successful business that is on every corner in the United States almost now, and they have a bunch of kids that guess what work at other competitors that aren't as successful.
Yeah,
but it's just process.
That is that's.
It's just process. They and discipline. They force them to do the things the way that they want them done. Yeah. And if they don't do it, then they don't last there. But they do it.
I figure if we can change the mindset of a lot of businesses, a lot of business owners, male, female, LGBTQ, whatever, chamber of commerce, you list, the list goes on and on and on, right? But and especially young entrepreneurs, you can change the mindset of some of these businesses. Oh man, we can have a wealthy socioeconomic impact on society.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. Because,
COVID has hit.
Right.
Made every business pivot.
Right.
Right. You saw things coming into play that you never would have thought that you would see, even a QR code. Because now your phone, you got to scan it to get the menu.
Right.
That's pivoting, right?
That's pivoting.
That made billions of dollars, right? Then you got the PPE business jumped in place. Masks, gowns, gloves, blah, blah, blah. Created some millionaires and billionaires overnight. Now, that was a volatile thing because now you can't even get your product overseas.
Right.
So it's so many opportunities for entrepreneurs, small businesses to pivot, to get in those spaces, but understand the same thing you're talking about. You got to understand the game. You got to have the processes and improvements. You got to put the right financial groups together, Even if you don't have the money, you can still put the plan together.
Yes. You can definitely put the plan together. Because, see, like I said, I build homes. And so, people come to me with ideas.
Yeah.
I want this. I want 2 bedrooms, 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, whatever. I want a 2-car garage, 3-car garage, 4-car garage. I want, X amount of square feet. I want this and that. So they want all this stuff.
Yeah.
So we lay it all out and we say, okay, this gonna cost X. They be like, we're gonna
take that garage out.
We're gonna need a little less space. Need a little of this, a little less of that. You know what I'm saying? Because they gave me a wish list.
Right.
And now when reality hits,
Right.
okay, this is how much it's gonna cost.
Right.
Now we start getting back to reality, right? But at the end of the day, it's still a plan.
It's a plan.
And so you have to put it on paper so that everybody can see it. Everybody understands what you're trying to accomplish, so that there's no surprise when you go out there and start building it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. It's so funny you said it because, and I can relate to it. I always whiteboard stuff up for my staff. Or I put everything on paper that I'm trying to tell them this is how I want this to work.
Right.
And they laugh like, you love to put a whiteboard, put the stick people up and everything else. I'm like, because I want to show you how he needs to talk to her, how she needs to talk to this bank, and you got to show them.
Right.
You got to show. We're visual people too,
Oh, yeah.
though. We're
Yeah.
much visual people, and that's why we built this whole PN community. Everything's visual.
Right.
No negative tones or anything, but everybody wants to see, how does this work? Ron, how can you build me a house? Can you just show me? Now I decided, I've seen it, I don't need that extra garage now. That's going to cost me too much money, right?
Right.
You need to see it. You just need to see
That's
it.
the discipline side of it. I tell people all the time, look, you plan so that you don't have to, you measure and then you cut. You don't have to keep cutting 20 different times if you measure it right.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Or if you plan it right. I try to eliminate all the rework by over planning.
Okay. Got you.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd rather for it take longer to plan it.
Right.
Because it don't cost nearly as much to move that line on paper as it does to move that wall out there in the field.
You're right. Man, I'm going to tell you, Ron, I got to go into another segment with you.
Okay.
But, man, this is always a pleasure for you to host me and have me here in Indianapolis, Indiana with you, to see all your growth, all your success. Also my business partner, too, on the Playbook Investors Network side, the PN community, the things you believed in, what we were doing, how we're going to change the game. We're really going to change the game. But I know we have one segment left that we got to really talk about, and I got to get you to talk a lot about that, because the transition of the athletes, especially NFL guys, the Major League Baseball guys, the NBA guys, the hockey guys, or even the entertainers, who are trying to transition from sports to business. And we've seen a lot of failures, for a lot of athletes who've made a lot of liquidity, a lot of money over the years, and 5 or 6 years later, it's gone, right? How do we help those guys and girls transition into the business spaces that they're trying to go to?